Hello and welcome. Okay, so welcome to the first episode of what I'm going to call Gouache 101. And this will be an ongoing series. And I know I'm starting off with drawing, but drawing is very important, right? And there's two things about painting that have to go right in order for your painting to be successful. One is the drawing, and the other is the values. We can talk about color, but right now, one of the things that I want to bring home, and just briefly, is the fact that the drawing is extremely important if you want to paint realistic portraits, right? And so it's imperative that all the features and so forth are in the right place. So I start off with a drawing before I paint, and this is a drawing that I'm doing to study what it is that I want to paint. This is not a drawing that I'm going to paint on top of. And it becomes very important because if you do the drawing, first thing it does is get you familiar with your subject, that thing that you are wanting to paint. So that when you get to the paint, you already have a strategy as far as how do you want to approach it. So the drawing becomes very important in that respect. Also, there are times where I started a painting and I didn't like it, so I scrapped the painting and started a new one. This was I'm remembering a particular incident where a model was posing, so it wasn't like I'm doing a new painting. I'm doing the same painting. Only thing is that I'm starting over again. And the thing about it, I still had the knowledge of that failure just before then, but that failure isn't a total failure because it gives me an idea about how I want to approach the subject next time. And in the same way, that's what this drawing is serving. It's helping me to strategize and consider things like the proportions, the values, how much of the reference do I want to include, what do I want to leave out, what do I want to emphasize, what do I want to de-emphasize. And one of the things I think about is how to group the lights and the darks, because I'm striving to make what I do as simple as possible. So I'm not striving to render everything. I want to make a statement that's simple, that's almost like bearing the image down to what I need to tell about the particular subject, right? So this drawing helps me to consider that. So before I head on to the painting, I want to do that with this drawing. So, of course, I don't draw that fast, but I sped it up just to get to this because I want to go ahead in the painting. Now, the drawing isn't perfect, but what I wanted to do, again, was to get familiar with the subject, and I'm hoping that as I go into the painting, I can continue to improve upon this. And on the right was the drawing that you saw I just did. On the left, I did it over again, and this time I just want to emphasize or work on the lights and shadows, so I get a good idea of how I want to simplify this particular subject. So I transferred the drawing to another sheet of paper, and I taped that paper on the board. I did a very simple outline, but tried to be very precise, because with this outline I kind of mapped out where the darks and lights go. And my approach is to start from the darks, maybe by reinforcing my drawing and then building up the dark areas, and then afterwards come back into, to save the lighter areas for the end. The reason for this is because with gouache, when you lay down the color, and you could cover the paint that's underneath with another layer of gouache, but what happens if after a while the paint starts sinking in, and it dries lighter or darker, and the color underneath it has some kind of effect as well. So I don't want the paint to sink in too quickly. You can cover over things with gouache, but I want to be careful how many layers I put over it. I don't want to keep putting one layer over another layer and so forth. It's it's not terrible if I do, but after a while it gets to be too many layers, and the paint, it won't let you affect the changes that you want. Like if you want to make something lighter over something darker, after a while that lightness starts sinking in, and you're fighting to keep it from being absorbed by the paint underneath. It could have something to do with how wet the paint is too. After you let it dry for some time, it might be easier to build up and paint on top of it. But this is something that I'm doing, just kind of as is, real quick, and I want to get it done in one sitting. So my approach is to reinforce the drawing, go back over the darks, and then build from those darks into the light areas, and especially to leave the areas that are going to be white as close to the paper as possible. So if I have to paint over it, it won't be affected by the paint underneath it. So it's a process of building up, but it's also what makes the drawing so important at this point is that I'm going back into it, and I'm following this map that I made from both those drawings that I showed earlier. So those drawings are helpful because it helped me to strategize about how to organize the lights and the darks. Now, this is just organizing the values. I had said it before that the values are very, very important, because this is how your painting gets organized, so that the colors aren't jumping all over the place. Every color has to correspond to a value. The value is how light or dark a color is. So if your values are organized, then the lights and darks are organized in the painting. Otherwise, the colors might jump where they're not supposed to. So it's a way of keeping control of what you're doing, and having that in mind, so that your painting makes sense, so that the light makes sense. And then there's other things that come in with color that we can talk about in another video, and we definitely will. But for right now, I want to focus on the two things that are important: the color and the value. And I'm going to paint this painting in just black and white. So it's just going to be a bunch of grays and black, and black and white, and I'm just focus on arranging it so that it makes sense, right? So I'm going to speed this up because I believe I'm not. I think in future videos, what I would like to do as well, and probably this would be the subject of the next video, is go over the type of paint applications, dry brush, how to cover an area smoothly, and so forth. And so there's a lot of that. This one I'm using, but there are a lot of approaches to gouache, and there's a lot of approaches that I personally take. This one, for this painting, I am simply doing the painting, or using the paints not too thick, too loaded with pigment. It's just a good ratio of water and pigment, so that the it doesn't build up too quickly. And it's almost like painting it with watercolors. I'm just building it up, more like staining the paper, and and then building up the image. As I go on, I'll there'll be more paint, and the paint will begin to build up on the paper. But for right now, my approach is just to use more water than pigment, just to get the drawing down, and then increase, especially as I go into lights, increase the pigment load, and so that I'm painting with less less water, more pigment, even dry brushing some areas. Okay, so here I got pretty far with painting in the dark areas where all the shadows are, right? So I'm getting ready to start heading into the lighter areas. Again, I'm going to leave the lightest areas to the white of the paper, and if I have to paint back into it, that I'll do that to make it lighter or darker, But also, what I'm using as I go forward while I'm putting down these darks, I'm also using a lot of water. Once I put down the paint, and I'm putting it a little bit thicker now, but once I put down the paint, I also smooth out the transition between one value to the next with water. So I'm adding that so that I can blend the paint as well. But one of the things that I like to do as well is make sure that the brush strokes are preserved. So I want to give it a real brushy look. So I want the type of gouache paintings that when someone looks at it, they wonder what medium is it? Is it gouache? Is it oil paint, or is it acrylic? By the way I lay down the brush strokes. So as I go along, I'm also considering the drawing that I made initially, because in my mind that drawing wasn't perfect. I'm trying to go over this and continually correct the drawing, at least as far as this painting is concerned. So I'm keeping in mind some of the things that I would have changed in that drawing to make it better. But I mean, the drawing served its purpose as far as me getting to know what I want to do in this painting. So I'm striving to do that. At the same time, I'm thinking about, okay, where did I go wrong in that drawing? What can I improve on as I go here? And one of the things is that the photograph that I used for this painting was very blurred. Now I had tried to fix it as much as I can, but it was a faulty photograph, and probably not the ideal photograph to work from. But I liked the lighting, and I there was something about it that I thought was very interesting, and it was worth salvaging, so that maybe I can make those corrections in my painting. And especially on the left side of her face, it's like it was so blurred on that side. It was hard for me to figure out the drawing and the lighting on that side, and where it ends off and goes into the background. So part of what I'm doing on that side, I'm making up and trying to make sense out of it, because the photograph wasn't clear. So in the drawing, I struggled with it because I had to try and figure it out. In the painting, I'm trying to apply what I did, as well as continually to correct what I did, as far as the drawing is concerned. So that's a bit of a challenge with this particular reference that I'm using. But I felt, if I felt it was insurmountable, then I would have not used a reference. I thought that maybe I can make this work, and that at least the image was worth the effort. So I finally get to putting in some of the background, which should help with that that left side of her face. Should help to uh, just clear that, maybe put some of that put some of that edge into the background, and figure out, especially where her hair on the top of her head, where that ends off on the left side of her face. From the photo I was using, it wasn't too clear, and also simplifying the shadows on the other side of her face. But that has less to do with the background than the other side that I was talking about. But it's just some of the things that I'm considering as I head into the final bits of this this painting. Just trying to figure this all out and make it work from a not so great photograph. But yeah, I mean, honestly, sometimes it's not worth the trouble. Like for if you have a bad reference, not everything can make a great painting. Bad reference is just that, bad reference, and sometimes it's better to not give yourself the headache. Painting is definitely difficult enough. You don't need to make it even harder by using something that's that you have to figure out. But at the same time, it could be a bit of a challenge, and that might be a good thing. And there might be some things worth salvaging, and maybe simplifying the thing, and making changes to that photo is what's going to help the painting. Using my own imagination as part of it, and not just relying on the photograph. And it's a good exercise in that sense, that as long as I'm not going to get frustrated with it, and that I could exercise some of my some creative problem solving for things that I can't figure out, or the ways that the photo just doesn't give me enough information to solve. Just using the photograph, I would have to use some of my imagination to put things. And by imagination is really memory. Imagination, well, most of it is memory. Most of it is things that you've seen and you put together, and that you bring in with you as a memory. It could be an inspiration from painting that I saw before. It could be an inspiration from a person that I saw before and thought was interesting, and something that I might incorporate into some future work or something. So because the way you use well, for me, what helps inform my drawings is the memory of having witnessed something before, either with my eyes or experienced it with paint, and I can bring that into what I'm currently doing. It's kind of like building a visual library that you can use to enhance your whatever it is you're currently working on. So anyway, that's how I think of memory. So I'm gonna let this play out till the very end, and then talk again. So here's the finished product. Um, Bit of a struggle, but I think I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. Not that it's 100% perfect. There's always things like when I do a painting that I might maybe a few seconds after completing say, hey, it came out pretty well, and then view it the next day and look at all the ways that I can improve. And for me, that's fine. For me, that's actually good, because I don't want to rest on what I did the previous time. I want to look for ways that I can continue to improve. And as far as this channel is concerned, as far as this particular series of videos with Gouache 101, I'm hoping to continue to post these things every Thursday and cover different topics regarding using gouache paint. So I want to make it as comprehensive as possible. So if you want to learn about gouache, if you are a beginner at gouache or intermediate, and figure that this might help you, I will be here every Thursday, in addition to the live streams that I do every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern time with me and my wife. We come on every Saturday, and we'll just go over gouache on Thursdays. And it would be great if you are interested in what, or if you liked what I'm doing here, to share it. Also, there's different ways that you can support this channel. There's my Patreon. I'll leave links below, and there's also ways that you can donate on below on this video to my channel. Okay, so looking forward to hearing what you guys think. Leave comments below, suggestions below. This is definitely episodes that are going to deal specifically with gouache. So I will be back Thursday with another video. All right, see you guys then. Bye bye.